The word we use for today's feast, Mary going up to heaven, body and soul, is the Assumption. The word we use for Jesus going up to heaven, body and soul, is Ascension. Assumption, ascension. Is there a difference? And if so, what is the difference between being assumed and ascending? We might be tempted to say it's just a matter of words, and really the two words mean the same thing. And yet, there's something going on. The church chooses its words carefully, and this feast is not the ascension of our Blessed Lady, it is her Assumption. People will explain it along these lines often. You see, when Jesus goes up to heaven, he does it by his own power, his own will. He decides to return to the Father. And because of who he is, he returns, he ascends, he goes up to be with the Father in that glory which he has shared for all eternity. Whereas when Mary goes to heaven, well, it's not by her own power. It's not her that makes the decision. It's not her who brings it about. It's her Son. It's God. He takes her to heaven. It's his will. It's his power. It's what he does. And so I suppose in a way it's a message to us to remind that though Mary isn't a unique individual, though Mary is a privileged and blessed person, as we heard in the Gospel, at the same time, she's human, and only human, like you and me, and that she cannot get to heaven by her own doing. She needs God's power and strength at work in her. So there's certainly something in that. And it's a message to you and me, of course. You and I cannot deserve to go to heaven. You and I cannot choose to go to heaven. You and I cannot simply to decide it. It's God who does it. He takes us to heaven. And in a way, the Feast of the Assumption is a model for all of us, because Mary is the model for every disciple. That's what God does for us as well. Differently, yes, this feast is about how she's taken straight to heaven by God, body and soul. But the underlying principle is the same. There's more, though. You see, when Jesus ascends into heaven, St. Luke tells us it happens 40 days after his resurrection. The important thing is that has already happened is the resurrection. You see, the body that he had that was crucified, the body that he had that was tortured by the cruelty of the Romans, the body that he had as he preached and taught in the dusty roads of Palestine. Well, that body was an earthly body. It was like your body and mine. It could suffer. It was mortal. It had physical limitations, just as we have. But in his resurrection, something extraordinary happens. He's transformed, same body, and yet different, so different. His wounds no longer hurt. He is now in a body that's, well, it's hard to fully explain. Paul struggles with this. When Paul tries to write about it, he says that Jesus dies in an earthly kind of physical body that we have, and then he says, and he rises in a spiritual body. What on earth a spiritual body is hard really to understand, but Paul is struggling with words to explain it. It's because it's so extraordinary, beyond our experience. And the body that Jesus has after his resurrection, this resurrected body, is no longer an earthly body. It no longer belongs here. It belongs in heaven. That is its natural home. It's home by nature, because he's transformed human nature. When Mary is assumed into heaven, she's not yet gone through that experience of resurrection. And somehow, exactly how, of course, we cannot begin to understand, Jesus must transform her to make her fit for heaven. And in doing so, takes her home to be with him forever. And that is something that we must go through. It's not simply that when we die, we're then just straight to heaven. We have to go through the resurrection. We talk about it in the Creed every Sunday. We say we believe in the resurrection of the dead, not simply the resurrection of Jesus, but the resurrection of the dead. That we will be transformed. And that can only be done by Jesus, by his power, by God. We cannot do it. And then that resurrected body is to be taken home to heaven. Again, even in our resurrection, we cannot earn heaven. In our resurrection, we must be given this great gift, this prize. So I suppose, talking about the Assumption of Mary, in a way, is to make us think about what is to happen to us. Not just what happened to her, but what is to happen to us. That we're to experience resurrection and being brought home, taken to glory. And yet there is something else as well. For while in Jesus, the resurrection is something that breaks forth, bursts out of the tomb, in a way there are clues beforehand. Last week we heard about Jesus walking on the water, a thing no human being can do normally. It's because of who he is. The week before we heard about Jesus transforming bread and fish into a banquet for a multitude, a thing that no ordinary human being can do. These are flashes, moments of showing of who he is. Just recently, we had the feast of the transfiguration of Jesus, when he's on the mountaintop and he glows like the sun. It's as if the resurrection, though it will be accomplished after his death and being in the tomb for 3 days, it's breaking through. It's breaking through all through his life, through his ministry. Glimpses of the resurrection, even before he died. And therein is something else about you and me. There are moments when we feel the presence of God. There are moments when God does great things in us. There are moments when, against all expectation, something happens that is right, that is so beyond us. It's the power of God, the power of the resurrection, breaking through in our lives. And we're called to recognize this. We're called to look forward to that complete transformation when we will be resurrected and taken home to heaven. We celebrate today the Assumption of Mary, when all that needed to be done was done straight away. For us, it takes a bit longer, but it will happen. The power of God is there to change us and take us home.